So today we're going to talk about mindset and building a success mindset. So what we're going to do today is just share a little bit of our journey and mainly 3 lessons we learned from basically moving from academics to entrepreneur. We started in academics, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our story, how we get into the entrepreneur, and the key things we got from working with as entrepreneur, but also working with entrepreneur and professionals. So both Marcia and I were really interested in life and understanding life in terms of life as a biological life and life in general very early on. And we had a different approach to get to understand life a little bit better, but we started early on with a fascination. So this is briefly Marcia's story. I'm just going to tell her a little bit of story. She will come into the talk after. We have specific parts to talk to you about. What Marcia is, a background is medicine. So she's a medical doctor. She's specialized in pediatrics. She got a degree from Brazil. And then after, she extended her studies and did a PhD in public health in the US and microbiology. One thing that she discovered is that the current allopathic health model is incomplete, really focused on treating disease, but not really about promoting health. And so she was interested in studying a little bit more about alternative therapy, and which she did. She studied naturopathy, homeopathy, and energy medicine. And so she explored first the traditional way, then the non-conventional way. And that was Marcia's path in terms of getting to better understand life and, in a general term, what is human potential. That's really what motivates her, is to better understand human potential so we can tap into our potential. In my case, also I was very fascinated with life very early on. I got my first microscope when I was 8 years old, just looking through the dirt in the backyard and looking at the things that were moving. And then I got on to the university and did my PhD in genetics and cell biology in France. And then 17 years ago, we moved to Australia. And so that was a big change for us. So we moved to Australia. And while in Australia, I still continue to do my work as a medical researcher, working mostly in cancer and neuroscience, looking at the physical aspect of brain development, brain disease. But then something happened 10 years ago. 10 years ago was a turning point for me, because I realized that throughout all my life, the only thing I was studying about life was the physical aspect. Never really got much into the mind aspect or the spirituality aspect or why are we here. And so that got me started to think and really to look, okay, I need to really understand what the mind is all about, because I use it every day, but I need to use it a bit more consciously and why I'm doing certain things. And so we both started to go a lot into basically searching a holistic approach to life for success, fulfillment, and also purpose. And so we did a lot of personal development, professional development. We work with many coaches and mentors over the past, let's say, 20 years. And that was really important to be able to have a holistic approach. Because if you want to be able to give your best, especially as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to combine the mind and the physical aspect. Physical aspect meaning doing things and doing the activities. And so that was our journey. And then 10 years ago, we decided, okay, it's time to leave the academics and it's time to start our own thing. And so we started our own business 10 years ago called Mastery to Success, which is consulting and coaching business around mindset. Now, when you start your own business and you come from academics, it's not very easy because you have no understanding of the business world. Most of the people in academics, I would say in medical research, see people that go to entrepreneur path a little bit weird. Why would you give up a good full-time job in academics, which is quite cushy, to go and do something that has got no certainty attached to it? You're going to take heaps of risk and you have no idea whether you're going to make it work or not. And so there was a lot of things to overcome in terms of making the transition from academic to entrepreneurship. We had to basically break through some mental and emotional roadblocks, some belief systems, some common assumptions, and also we had to change our model of the world. Now, when you start your own business, you're very optimistic. So you say, oh, that's my ideal curve. But the reality of it, this is more like that, ups and down, ups and down, ups and downs, and you don't go to the speed you want. And so throughout our journey, what we learn, there's really a few key important things. And some of it, we're going to share it with you today. Now, being an entrepreneur is not easy. And you have to be able to stand in a strong foundation for yourself. So you need to have a strong mindset. You need to be really understanding what drives your behavior on a daily basis. Because every behavior, every decision you make has a direct impact on basically what you're going to get at the end of the day. If you work as an entrepreneur, you're looking for making more revenue, getting more sales, getting more clients. And so that is really important to understand your behavior around that. Now, we didn't do it on our own. We had plenty, as I say, plenty of coaches and mentors to help us because we always need to get to the next level. And you only know what you do know, but you don't know what you don't know. And very often you need someone external to shine a light on the things the blind spots. So we had to let go of a few things to become entrepreneur. We had to let go of people. Had to let go of some friends. We had to let go of some colleagues, some peers, sometimes family members that didn't get it. And so you had to make a choice. So sometimes you have to make a hard choice. We had to let go of belief, some model of the world. We had to also let go of the fear of failure. When you start something new, if you've never been there, you always ask yourself, well, what if it doesn't work? That's not the worst part. The worst part is, what are the people are going to think about me? That's the one that really stops people in their track. The fear of what other people are thinking. And we had to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, knowing that entrepreneurship, there's a lot of uncertainty and you have to navigate it. There's no other way. But we're going to share with you some tips that can help you with your mindset in terms of better navigating the uncertainty. So I like this quote from entrepreneur Steve Glavinsky. Entrepreneur is far more than a job title. It's a state of mind and a way of life. And I would say that's 100% true. Becoming an entrepreneur, you already have a different state of mind. If you look at the whole population, most people will look for a job for security. The entrepreneurs are the ones that are willing to dare and give it a crack. And so you already have a different state of mind, and it's a different way of life because you don't necessarily rely on security, on certainty, but you rely on having some kind of experience that's going to change who you are and make you become greater as a person. And you're looking for making a contribution. So what we find is that there's really three keys to be able to master your mindset in a way, and that's valid for entrepreneur, but not just entrepreneur, for everyone. You have to first develop a lot of self-awareness about yourself. You need to really, really understand yourself and who you are. You need to develop self-leadership, and that is important in terms of managing priorities and knowing when to say yes and when to say no. And you have to develop resilience, which is the ability to, when you get knocked back, you just get back up and continue to do. Because there's going to be many, many setbacks, many challenges along the way. But the challenges help you grow. That's why they're important. So over the past 10 years, we've been doing a lot of research around the mindset, understanding the rules of human behavior, the interaction between the mind and the body. We've worked with hundreds of clients from different parts of the world. We work from employees to professionals, to CEOs, founders, to entrepreneurs. So we cover a whole range of people. And these are the things we've been able to do, and that's our core mission, is basically to work with those people to align their mind, body, and behavior so they can find clarity, confidence, and flow. Because ultimately, that's what's going to give you the capacity to perform at the highest performance. So the most important skill entrepreneurs have to learn is to manage their own mindset and their well-being. Because when you love what you do, it's very, very easy to get consumed in what you do, lose track of your health, lose track of your mindset. And although you might think that you're really doing a lot because you're busy, you might not be doing the best you can. You might be busy but not effective, or busy but not performant. And so mastering mindset and well-being is crucial. As an entrepreneur, you're going to be a role model. You're going to build a business with a team, so you're going to look like a role model for your team. So if you have, let's say, a faulty mindset, if your health is less than optimal, that is going to have a ripple effect on your team and also on the image you project outside in the world about your business. So working with all these people, doing our own research, we identify 3 main lessons, and we put these 3 lessons in a framework. And this framework is valid not only for entrepreneurs, but is valid for anyone that wants to have a successful, meaningful, and purposeful life. And that's why we call it the success blueprint. Success is whatever it means to you. Success is usually something that is important to you that you want to achieve. And so in the success blueprint, there's 3 lessons and 3 core elements. We have the core identity, emotional intelligence and resilience, and authentic strategies. And these are important to gain clarity, confidence, and certainty on your trajectory. And so I'm going to talk about core identity and authentic strategies, and Master will talk about emotional intelligence and resilience. That's how we work best in the business. We find out that we love doing the same things, but in the different ways. And so I focus more on the mindset, the strategy, and the clarity, and she loves focusing on helping people break through emotions and emotional roadblocks. And so now I'm going to share with you. So imagine if you are an iceberg. Iceberg, there's 2 parts. There's a part that everybody can see, and there's a part that is underwater no one can see, and even sometimes you don't even see yourself. So if you consider yourself as an iceberg, something that is really important but is deeply unconscious, something we call core drivers. These are the foundation that drive all your behaviors. Most of the time it's unconscious, and you have to do some work, some specific process to be able to get conscious of those core drivers. Those core drivers drive another important part which we call values. And I will talk a little bit more about values because there's a lot of confusion about values. Your values are both conscious and unconscious. And I will explain that specifically why. Those values drive your behaviors drives your actions, and your actions drive your result or a lack of result. And so if you were to distill human behavior, that's the most simple things you can distill human behavior, these key components about human behavior. Now, values are the things that are most important and meaningful to you. And if you want to simplify it, is your highest priority in life. That's where you spend most of your time, energy, focus, and resources to it. That's your highest values. There's a lot of confusion about values. When people think about values, sometimes they think about honesty, integrity. It could be teamwork. These are kind of moral values. They're good values, but they're not your personal values. You operating from your personal values, the byproduct of that will be you'll have honesty, you'll have integrity. But they're not values in itself, they're moral values. What I'm talking here about, I'm talking about your personal value. And your personal value, they determine your decision, actions, and results. And they are unique to you. Now, I said before, your values are both conscious and unconscious. They are unconscious because most people are not aware of them. But they're still conscious because your life demonstrates your value. The way you operate, the way you function every day demonstrates your value, although you might not be aware of it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about a case of a client and show you the importance of knowing your values and what can happen if you don't. And so we work with a young entrepreneur, and she wanted to build a business. It was a training and consulting business. For corporate. And so she's been working very hard with a business coach for over a year, implementing strategy, creating content, building authority. However, after a year, she still didn't get much traction, and she had made no sales. And she was just really, really stressed out, burning down, and starting to doubt about herself and question what's happening. And so she came to us like quite emotional, like teary, very. And we had a chat, and we said, oh, the first thing we need to have a look is determine your values to see if there is any clash in what's happening in terms of what you want to create consciously, but what your behavior is demonstrating, or if there is any hidden agenda. And so we determine our values, and we find that the values are organized in a hierarchy from the most important, the top, to the bottom. And so the most important, the top ones, are the ones that really dictate your behavior on a daily basis. And so we identified that she had two values, really important. One was to build a business. The other one was to have a family, meaning having a family, having a kid, right? She was a young entrepreneur. And so although consciously she wanted to build a business, unconsciously she wanted to have a kid. And she saw unconsciously in her mind there was a clash between, if I build my business, I'm not going to be having the time necessary to have my family and have my kid. And so although she was putting a lot of work and effort in doing everything that the business coach was telling her to do, she was not attracting a result because she had a hidden agenda to first have her children. That was way more important to her, but she didn't really acknowledge that. So we did some work with her. We showed her how to align the two together so there was no conflict internally. And we also changed the strategy for her to grow her business, so she can have a bit more, less stress, less pressure, but finding a bit more flowy that fits in her values. And within a few weeks, what happened? She landed her first corporate client. Okay, she got a check, 5 figures. Then, a few weeks later, she got pregnant. And last month, she gave birth to a healthy baby. So she has a baby. She got a corporate gig. And she even had follow-up work from a corporate gig that when she's going to be ready after maternity leave. Before, none of that was happening because there was an internal conflict. Once we resolved the internal conflict, we were able to put strategies in place that for her were doable, and she was not compromising either one. And so that's the importance of values. In our hierarchy of values, sometimes we have inherent conflict, and if we don't resolve them, we're going to end up spending a lot of time, energy, effort, and drain ourselves because we haven't aligned everything together. So there is ways to align. So that's why values are important. If you're working very hard but you're not getting the result, it suggests that there's something that is not aligned inside of you. It's not necessarily the strategy is bad. The strategy could be really good, but there's something that is misaligned. And it's important to look at that. That's why self-awareness is really important for entrepreneur and anyone. And I like that because this quote from Gandhi says, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you say. She wanted to build a business, but the behavior and the actions, the result was it was going nowhere. So your values are demonstrated by your behavior. It doesn't matter what you tell me. If I look in your life and look at your behavior, I will know whether this is congruent or not. And that's the important thing about values. Now, there's a specific process to determine values that we do with our clients, but I'm going to give you the shortcut. Very simple. Our values is what is most important and meaningful to you, and that's how we use our resources. What are our most precious resources? Time, energy, space, money, and learning. Why? Because learning requires time, it requires energy, it requires space, and it requires money. And so if you look in your life, how you use your time, and you can do that very simple. You can do a little activity for yourself to really get a good clarity on your values. For the next 2 weeks, every day you monitor your activities, and you can use a time tracking app. This one is a free app you can just download from the net. And it allows you to create different projects. So for the different type of activity you do, you give it a name as a project. And you track that for the next 2 weeks. This is going to be the evidence of what are your values. Not a guesswork. It's the reality. You might like it, you might not like it, but that's what it is. That is more important to know what is your behavior rather than what you think it should be. So a very powerful exercise is going to show you also whether you spend your times on let's say, high quality, high priority activity or not. So I recommend you do that. 2 weeks is enough. It's going to give you enough data so you'll see a pattern. Very valuable. The second thing about our identity that is very important is what we call purpose. And I'm sure you've heard about Simon Sinek. He's all over the place, all over the internet. Start with why. Well, your purpose is your why. And our purpose, this is how we define our purpose, is we all have something that is special, inspiring and meaningful to us, but also that brings a contribution to other people. When you have a purpose, you get something for yourself, but you also give something to others. There's a self-other relationship in your purpose. And the more clarity you have, the more you're going to be able to flourish as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a professional. The second reason why it's important to really get clear on your purpose is because that's why it's going to keep you going when shit hits the fan, basically. When you get a low, when you start to doubt and say, oh, I'm not sure this is for me, I'm not sure I'm good enough, whatever, your purpose, having clarity of your purpose is what's going to allow you to keep going. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. Because you're going to get to ups and downs all the time. You can't avoid it. They're here to teach you important things. But your purpose is your direction, your beacon. That's where you're going. The funny thing is, your purpose is not always easy to determine by yourself or to clarify by yourself. We got heaps of people coming to us and say, I want to find my purpose, I want to find my purpose. Most people think of the purpose of something that is outside of them, and they're looking for an outside solution. But your purpose is within you, and your life demonstrates it. It's not always easy to look inside ourselves. Very often we need a mirror. And that's why sometimes you can use books to guide you to that. You can do your own introspection. Sometimes meditation can guide you to that. Or you can work with coaches to help you get more clarity on answering certain important questions and acting as a mirror to reflect to you what it is. What I would say is that knowing your purpose is not a luxury. It's not like some kind of good woo-woo thing or new age thing. It's something that is really important. As I say, when you hit the low, your purpose is going to get you back up. And so it is a necessity. The thing I would say that most people don't think of it is that you are never off purpose. Always on purpose. Very often you don't see it. Your purpose might be expressed throughout your life in different ways. You might have different jobs. You might work in different industries. You might not see that, you might think that, oh, I'm just drifting, I'm doing different things, I got no purpose. But you have a purpose because your purpose is the common thread. So if you look throughout your life, the common thread, this is an expression of your purpose. It's not something you have to go on a trip around to find out your purpose, your calling, whatever. No, you don't need to go anywhere. Just need to look inside. So your purpose is not a destination. You don't get to your purpose. Your purpose is your life journey. That's what it is. And the more you look inside, the deeper you look, the more you're going to gain that clarity and that certainty. Purpose is important for clarity and certainty of direction. Okay? And so these are, just to summarize, these are the two key points in terms of your core identity. Really understanding your values, getting clear on your values because they dictate your everyday actions, decisions, behavior, and result. And getting clear on your purpose because your purpose is your long term. It's what's going to keep going in the long term whenever you hit the low. And so this is for the first lesson. Values and purpose. Find a way to get clear on those two. They'll serve you very well. And now it's going to be Marcia that talks about the second lesson.
So the lesson number 2 is emotional intelligence and resilience. So why is it important to develop a healthy emotional intelligence and resilience? And why is that important? Not only as an entrepreneur, but in life in general, but especially as an entrepreneur. Because no matter where you are, what level, no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, as if you are a startup or you are a Elon Musk or Richard Branson, in this journey, the day of entrepreneur is never a smooth ride. It looks more like this. Would you agree, Steve?
Yeah.
For people that have been on this journey for a while? Yeah, because that's life. So first of all, I want to debunk the fantasy that we all have that, oh, if my business, if I achieve my first 5-figure, 6-figure, when I make my first $1 million, everything will be smooth sail after that. No, because life is about growth. And I love this quote that says, while we are green, we are growing, and when we are ripe, we start to rot. So we are always in this is a journey, in this growth journey. And the journey, yes, ups and downs. Can you imagine if the journey is just a smooth ride, day in and day out? Exactly. It gets really boring. And then guess what? Deep down, we start creating, things to cause drama, because drama is exciting in a way. So when things get too boring, have you sometimes been doing something that that a job that you already in and out, and it become boring? You start creating self-sabotage. You start creating side dramas. So why not embrace something that inspires you and go after that? And I think, as an entrepreneur, that's why we love working with entrepreneurs, is because we know that you have a vision and you have a cause bigger than yourself to overcome this. One of the ways is when you have a vision, when you have a why strong enough, that's what makes you resilient. You do whatever it takes. And there are some principles that will help you develop your emotional intelligence and resilience. I love this quote by Warren Buffett. He very wisely said that if you can't manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money. Who have heard that before? And so that applies not only to money, but apply to everything in life. Have you ever tried, was there a time in your life, I have, where you try to make a decision and you're really emotional? Like you're really angry or scared. And you want to make this decision and you know that is not the right decision, but you just do it. Who has experienced that? And it's the same thing also for the opposite. It's not just for negative emotions. When we are highly excited, like, we just imagine someone just win a lotto, $1 million. Or when you get that something that you really, really wanted for so long, and you are so excited. So we are highly excited, elated. We are also off balance. So when you're really, really excited, do you make wise decisions? No. Because when we are highly excited, we tend to want to give away. We are over-generous. When we're angry, we want to receive. So neither one of them is you're not operating from what we call our executive center, which I'll speak in a moment, where you make wise decisions. Okay? Is that okay if I explain why do you think that we don't make wise decisions when we're emotional?
Because we're too much in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still processing whatever it is that, whatever that situation was, we're still processing the information we got from that. And if we are angry, then processing it basically, we have to wait until we finish processing before we go and make a decision.
Yep.
To put that into a perspective that everybody might understand. If I get an email that makes me frustrated, or I read the email and I was like, are you seriously telling me you didn't get what was being said in that email? I will take a step back, I'll read it and I'll go, yep, whatever. I will push it away, I'll go and do something else, I'll go to get coffee or something, I'll leave the room, go do something else, and I'll come back to that later after I've had a chance to think about what was said in the email rather than the emotion that it generated. And then I can write an appropriate response to the email without actually getting frustrated or anything like that. And you generally find that there's a much better outcome from that. If I've done the thing where I've responded to an email angry, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and you know why, the science behind that? Does anyone would like to know?
So like there are different parts of our brain that evolve at different times.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, it starts with survival, and then it's like, you know, keeping just the basic functions.
Yeah.
Life freeze.
Perfect. So that's what you explained is the practical side, and then we're going back into our physiology, our actually hardwired for this. So who has heard of the trium or trium brain? By the way, if there's any slides that you like, just let us know, and we can send the slides to you. Also, we are recording with the PowerPoint, so and we'll put somewhere you actually can have access to them later, as if everything goes well with the recording technology. You never know. So the trium brain, as a lot of you know, is that evolutionary, our brain can be divided in 3 different parts. The most primitive is reptilian brain, which is on the back. So imagine, so this is like you're looking at so this is the back and this is the front, right? So the reptilian brain is composed by brainstem and cerebellum. And so it's about the bodily functions. It functions in autopilot, and it controls all our vital functions like heart beating, breathing, blood pressure, body temperature. So we are not thinking about that because it's not possible. Because if we think about that, there's no time to do anything else. Right? And so and it also is part of the fight, flight, freeze, and fall asleep. So that's the most primitive part, which has to do with our physical survival. The next one is the mammalian brain, which is the more recent, and it's the limbic system, which is involved with our emotions, our memories, and also our habits. And so it's this part of the brain, which is like it's actually protected in the middle of the brain, and I'll show you. So this is like the brain cut in half, and we're looking into the one part of the brain, right, from the center. And so the limbic system has to do with emotions, and it's unconscious. We make unconscious decisions because it's based on often past experiences and it's making, so we're making unconscious decisions based on past pleasurable or painful experiences. And then the next part is the neocortex, which is the human brain, which is neocortex is the most recent part of our brain, where we do the rational, the reasoning, the analytical, and where we have the language, the abstract thought, imagination, consciousness. So these are the 3 parts of the brain. Now, all 3 of them are equally important and essential for a living and inspired, purposeful, and fulfilling life, because each one has a different function. So for example, so this is a different way of looking at, so the reptilian brain, also called hindbrain, is the survival function. And the question is, am I safe? So first, we need to be safe. That's the very foundation. If you're not safe, nothing else can happen. So it's like the foundation. The next one, the emotional, the limbic system, emotional function, is also has to do with social. And the question is, am I loved? And then the part, so neocortex is everything else. However, in humans, there's a part that we call prefrontal cortex, and that's the most developed among all animals. In human, the prefrontal cortex is the most developed one, because that's where we find the executive functions or the executive center. And it's about the learning, because we are hardwired to learn until the day we die. Because if we don't learn, things start getting boring. And so this part, which is the prefrontal cortex, is the executive function. So the executive functions, they are involved in complex rational, complex planning, complex cognitive behaviors, personality expression, and decision making, impulse control. So they are really important. So when we are operating from the prefrontal cortex, that's when we make the wise decisions. But what happens is when we are emotional, anytime we have a stress and we're emotional, we reverse. It's a natural that we reverse back to the more primitive, the limbic system and the hindbrain. That's why when we are angry, we receive this email and we are angry about it, we then go back to our primitive brain. And then when we process and integrate, then we are able to reassess our prefrontal cortex. And that's why, and that is a muscle that can be practiced and trained. And there's a really cool way for you to remember this. So Dr. Dan Siegel, Dr. Dan Siegel, he's a psychiatrist. And I don't know, have you seen this hand model for the brain? So imagine, so everyone can, if you like to take your hand up and just go like that. So this is like, we are looking from the front, right? And so this is the neocortex, and the front part is the prefrontal cortex. Now, if we go like this, okay, so imagine we have now turned the brain around and we cut here, and that's what we see on the side view, right? On the side view, when you do this, and then put your thumb in here and that. So this part is the brainstem, which is the reptilian brain. Okay, that here. Then your thumb is the limbic system, which includes the amygdala, which is the center for fear. And then all the rest, your other fingers are like the neocortex involving. Now remember that these are like that, right? Because our brain has two hemispheres. So you can imagine my hands are joined, my arms are joined. So this is like that. But if we look, so that is the model. So our limbic system is protected and is controlled by the neocortex and the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex has the function, not just the executive function, but it also controls the limbic. However, when we got really emotional, because sometimes we're emotional, but we're still grounded, we're still poised, we're still balanced, and we're still making decisions, so we're still present. But when we have got so emotional, we got so emotional that it's almost like the prefrontal cortex is now disconnected. It's like, bye-bye. And who's taking over now is your limbic system. So that's when our emotions are ruling, is the boss. And that's when we make like really silly decisions. And until we process, of course, our brain doesn't literally do that, but it's just figuratively say bye-bye. And then what we can do is some simple processes that we can then ask questions to help our brain to balance our perception and reintegrate and then reconnect. So so that the prefrontal cortex is back in charge, which means we're accessed and operating from our prefrontal cortex again. And so when we function from in a state of executive state, which is from our prefrontal cortex, rather than an emotional or survival state, we are the most efficient and effective in achieving our goals. That makes sense. Now, as I mentioned before, stress makes us reverse to the more primitive part of our brain. So, yes, yeah. And so, yeah, so what happened is, so I just go through quickly through the mechanism. So, yeah, the stress is actually not something good or bad. It's necessary because we are hardwired for survival. So, as physically, and imagine, you know, the cavemen, since the caveman times, we are hardwired for survival, meaning that we are hardwired to run away from predators that want to eat us and towards prey, which is food, whatever food that is for us. And so the predator is something that we perceive as being challenging or cause us pain, right? And if it eats us, well, we are gone. So that's the ultimate pain. And so anything that is associated with challenge, pain, we dislike, we want to get away from, and we feel like a punishment. And anything that we can eat, because we need the food to nurture ourselves, and that supports us, gives us pleasure, we like it, we have the impulse towards it. We have instinct to get away from the pain and impulse toward the pleasure, and we see it as a reward. So that is the basic hardwire process. So that's stress. So when we see, like, we need to run away from the predator, otherwise we are dead. And if we don't get food, we starve and we'll die. So that's the ultimate stress. And that is in our animal, our animal nature is that black and white. And that's stressful because we see it's either one or the other. So you don't have choices. It's black and white. So that's very stressful. However, if we look at life is never one-sided. Life has both sides. Just like a magnet, we cannot get one-sided magnet. And if we look in life, everything has two sides: light, dark, day, night, cold, hot, happy, sad. And even, if you look into the movies, imagine a superhero movie without the villain. Is that possible? It wouldn't be a movie, right? A Superman without the kryptonite. So the pale opposite is always there because it is necessary. However, when we are in either we are too happy or too sad, we don't see it. So when we are in the stream of emotions, we don't see the other side. However, I love this because I find that, not the fact that I'm Chinese background, but I found the Chinese had the wisdom to summarize in the symbol yin and yang. Is the whole picture has always two halves, and we can call black and white. However, have you noticed that inside the black there's a dot of white, and inside the white there's a dot of black, meaning that in any situation, for the wars, let's say called black is bad, right? We labeled bad. But in the wars of the scenarios, there's always something good into that. We call silver lining, hidden blessing. There's a lesson, is a benefit inside. And in the best of the best times or experiences, there is also a tint of black, which means there's also a drawback, a disservice, a downside to it. And so this is, if one thing about, very simple, if you can just remember this, is the foundation for emotional intelligence and resilience is that most of the times when we're emotional, we only see one side. So when we are really negatively charged, we only see the black. And then we are blind to the other side. But the other side is always there. And when we are too happy, we don't want to see the other side. Who here fell in love? Like first time you met, in a relationship, you fell in love, right? And then you start to, and you see this person as well, this is the perfect man, my soulmate, and you see the bright side of the person, you see the white side, right? And then you start dating this person, you get to know this person, you spend time, maybe you move in, you get married. What happens? You start seeing the other side as well, because every single human being has two sides. You start seeing both sides. And sometimes that other side can start challenging you so much that you get in conflict, and so at times it might end up in separation or divorce. So either way, either we are too negatively charged or positively charged, we only see one side, and the other side is unconscious. And one of very simple ways is when you ask questions that bring your unconscious conscious, you integrate both sides, and the emotional charge actually vanishes like straight away. And I have a quick story that help you to remember these. You heard of it's a quick story passed in ancient China. There's this farmer that has all these horses. Who heard this story? So I have horses, and one day his best horse ran off, and all the villagers came and said, "Oh, that's so bad. That's a curse. How bad! You're so not lucky. That's horrible. You lost your best horse." And the farmer just said, "Maybe." The next day, his horse came back and brought back a dozen wild horses. And the villagers came, "Wow, but you're the luckiest man. How wonderful. Now you're the luckiest, the richest man around here. You have all these horses." The farmer said, "Maybe." Next day, his son went to start training the horses, the wild horse. Fell off the horse, broke his leg. The villagers came and said, "Wow, how bad luck, and how horrible thing." And the farmer said, "Maybe." Next day, the emperor sent troops. They were recruiting people to go into the war. And because of the broken leg, the son couldn't go to the war. And the villager came and congratulate him and say, "Wow, how lucky you are." And he said, "Maybe." And the story just go on and on and on. So that's demonstrated that in life there's no good or bad. There's always the two sides of everything. And so here are, and it's necessary because as earlier I said, it's necessary is that when we have too much support, everything is smooth, right, everything's working well, and you get all the support, guess what? We relax. However, we get bored, and we also stay juvenile because there's nothing to push us to grow. When we have too much challenge, we get stressed, anxious, and we burn out. So the maximum growth is in the border between support and challenge. And so here are some questions that you can ask yourself in daily basis to help you bring back to balance when you are emotional, by asking, if in a situation, what else could this mean? If you are in a situation where you are angry or you are negatively charged, so you ask, okay, what are some benefits out of this? What's the upside? And there's always, what's the silver lining? What's the hidden blessing? And then when you're too happy, as I mentioned before, when you are too happy, excited, we are not in our executive center either. Then we ask the opposite. What is some downside in this situation? What is the drawback? So is that to bring you back to be able to see the whole picture. And so that is our part of our brain. There are neurons, and we have billions, about 80 billions of neurons in our brain, and they are all connected to each other. However, the connections, they are ever is dynamic. So the connections, they are connecting and pruning away, and they make connection with different neurons. So by using these questions to shift your perception, you are actually using your neuroplasticity. And there are other ways of using the neuroplasticity. This is also one of the exercises we do to align your goal with your highest values. Because as Olivia mentioned before about the values, often when we are like doing everything we can and going for it and we think we have the best strategy and still not reaching the result, is probably because that goal is not aligned with your highest values. Because our highest values always dictate our decision, our action, and the result we get. And so by using some questions that actually make new brain connections, using the neuroplasticity, we align your goals with your values, and then they become achievable.
So we've covered the first lesson, which is getting really clear about yourself, your values, and your purpose, the main 2 points. Marcia talked about the importance of managing emotion and seeing 2 sides of every situation or every event. I'm going to talk about authentic strategies. Authentic strategy, a very short way to talk about it, is tapping into your flow, your natural flow, which gives you the greatest ability to focus. You are the most energized, and you are able to achieve at the highest performance, so peak performance. So how do you tap into your flow? There's mostly 4 different triggers for flow. There's psychological triggers, there's environmental triggers, environment is very important, social trigger, and creative trigger. And I'm not going to go into detail, but if you're really interested, go and check this out. This guy conducted a study called the Flow Genome Project, and he basically did genome analysis and gene expression analysis on top athletes or high performance to be able to understand what is the biological signature of the flow experience. And so he has a lot of data and information around that. And so he talks in details about all the different triggers of flow. But what I'm going to do today, I'm just going to mention simply very simple psychological triggers of flow, how you can get into your flow. So how can you operate into your flow? The first thing is making sure whatever you do is aligned with your values and your purpose. Otherwise, it's going to feel very hard. You're going to spend a lot of time, energy. You might get really busy but not achieve very much. So alignment is really key, and that's one of the things we do with people when we work with them. We try to align everything and integrate. The more there's misalignment, the more there's disintegration, the more you consume energy, time, space, money, and you don't get what you want. When you set goals, you want to set specific goals. Like, I want to make more money, it's not going to go anywhere. You can make $1. You need to be really specific on the figures. So whenever you have a goal, whether it's a performance goal, whether it's a business goal, whether it's a personal goal, you want to be specific. Needs to be realistic, meaning that you have the capacity to achieve. And most of the time, people don't have a realistic goal in their time frame. They want to achieve something, and they think it's going to take that much time. But the reality is going to take that much time. So the biggest parameters is time and energy. So be realistic in the term of the time and energy is going to take you to achieve that goal. And you need to be congruent. Again, congruent is congruent with who you are, your values, your personality, the way you do things, and your purpose. If there is misalignment of lack of clarity in this, you won't achieve your goals. And then to operate in flow, there is a need to have an optimal balance between the skills and the difficulty. It's the same thing as Marcia talked about before, the growth, the support, and the challenge. Too much difficulty, not enough skills, you burn out and you get depressed. Too much skills, not enough difficulty, you get bored and you just quit. So you need to find an optimal balance where you have enough difficulty that is going to stretch you a little bit, but it's not going to be too easy, so you just cruise along and don't get anywhere. So again, that balance between challenge, support, difficulty is important, order, chaos. All that is important to be able to operate at peak performance. So I'm going to tell you a little story of a client, just to illustrate the point of the environment and the flow. So we work with a client, and she come to us because she was burnt out. And she was in the company, she liked the company, but she wanted to quit a job. She really hated what she was doing. And so we, again, started with the values and identified the values and find out what was the problem. The problem was not the company. She was aligned with the company, or her personal purpose was aligned with the purpose of the company. So there was alignment. There was some shared values there. The problem was she was on the bus on the wrong seat. The job she was doing, the description of the job didn't match her natural flow and the way she does things. And that was stressing her out. She was burnt out, and that's why she wanted to quit. And so we had a discussion. We explored her situation, her values, her purpose, looking at the company. And we suggested to talk with the company director and say, is there a possibility to change your job description to something else based on your natural talent, your natural flow, and how you operate and how you communicate with people? And so we put a plan together, and she went to the company director, and he agreed to change that. So she just changed the role and the job description. She stayed in the same company, changed the role and job description. Amazing. She loved it. She was in flow. She was doing her thing. She didn't want to quit anymore. She was not burnt out. She was not stressed out. She didn't leave the company. She just changed how she was doing her work. What was the job description? And so sometimes you're on the right bus. You're just on the wrong seat, doing the wrong thing. And that's the importance of flow and knowing how you do things. The second example is about procrastination. So we work with, again, another entrepreneur that wanted to build his next business. He wanted to build a business to empower and educate small business owners around finances and managing money wisely. He's been working with a business coach to put strategy in place to build his business for 2 years. And then he come to us and he said, I'm not going anywhere. Not working. I don't feel like doing what she told me to do. What's happening? What's wrong? Is the strategy bad? I say, no, strategy is not bad. But maybe strategy is not aligned with who you are and your values. So again, same thing, very simple. Determine the values. Have a look at what is his purpose. The strategy was not bad. It was not about a strategy. It was just a strategy not aligned with who he was. And so that wasn't congruent with him. So what happened is, don't do it. Find any kind of excuses, social media, go to coffee, chat with people. I'm not doing my business stuff. Yeah, what are you doing instead? Oh, these are your highest values. And they're not connecting to your business goals. That's why you're not going anywhere. You're procrastinating, you're losing your confidence and motivation. Not because the strategy is a bad strategy, it's a good strategy, but it's not a strategy that works for you. We need to find a strategy that is going to fit how you are, how you operate, what's aligned with your values. And we did that, and in a few weeks, got his whole program down. But he's been struggling, hitting the wall for 2 years, just because he wasn't aware. He wasn't enough self-aware of himself and what makes him tick and how he operates in life. So again, entrepreneurship is a combination of two things, mindset and business strategies. Now, there's another thing I'd like you to write this quote. It's probably the most important thing, if you remember. Values is very important, but this one is very important. Envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. If you try to be someone you're not because you look at that person and you say, oh, I want to be like that person, you are ignorant of your own competitive advantage and your own uniqueness and capacity. And if you try to imitate someone, you're killing yourself. Deep down, you're killing yourself metaphorically because you're denying what makes you unique. You're denying your unique advantage. And so every time you compare with someone and you look outside and you say, I want to do like them, I want to be like them, you're denying yourself. And so you're sabotaging yourself. So the only thing you have to do to be successful in life, whether it's to be an entrepreneur or not, is just to be yourself. Because that is unique. Just being yourself has enough value, and you can provide enough value if you have self-aware enough, you can transform that. Entrepreneurship is an exchange of value between two entities, two people, two companies. If you know the value you have, you can transact that value. If you know the value you can provide, you can transact it. But knowing starts with self-awareness. You first need to find it out. Second thing also is entrepreneurship is teamwork. You can't make it on your own. Like our journey, we didn't do it on our own. We had plenty of coaches. We had plenty of mentors. We had mindset mentors, life coaches, business coach. We have all this because entrepreneurship is this. It's an individual, it's you, but it's also your business as a machine, and includes also people and team. And so on your journey of entrepreneurship, you're going to need to have some support. You're going to need to have some mentors to help you with business strategies, business tactics, marketing, sales, technology, and finance. Never neglect finance. Ultimately, the main purpose of a business is to make money. Most of the time, entrepreneurship, people think about that is the obvious thing to do. I need a strategy, I need a business strategy, I need a marketing person, I need a salesperson, I need a finance team, I need an accountant. But very often what they neglect is to start with themselves. They neglect, well, I need to make sure my mindset is correct, that I have the right mindset to go to where I want to go. And they need to be also very careful about their well-being and not burning themselves to the ground. Because ultimately, you're the seed you're the best asset of the business. If you burn that seed, business worth nothing. And so, see entrepreneurship as teamwork, leverage relationship, connect with people, make sure you create an ecosystem or an environment around you that is going to support you in all different ways. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to learn anything. Focus on what is unique to you, your highest value, your core competency. And then find ways to partner, collaborate, or outsource other things. But really, that's what it's all about. It's about getting beyond yourself. You are a necessary part of that business. You initiate the business, you have the idea, you have the vision. It's necessary. You are the asset. So don't neglect yourself. Make sure you take a good care of yourself. Now, on your journey of entrepreneurship, you're going to need coaches and mentors. As I said, you're going to need business coaches. You're going to need probably finance coaches. You might need health coaches to make sure you stay fit and healthy. You will need mindset coaches. The reason why you want to coach is not because they're better than you. The reason you want to coach is because they allow you to access something really important, which is perspective. And perspective is to look from a place where you are not. That's why a coach does. Same thing for a health coach, same thing for a business coach. They give you perspective on the things you cannot see. They shine the light on your blind spots. They help you develop certain strategies and tactics, whether it's about resilience, managing emotions, or whether it's about setting up a marketing strategy. So you don't need to learn all this, but you need to find the right people that are aligned with you, congruent with your purpose, that are going to help you leverage what you have already. And so if there's one thing, as an entrepreneur, be prepared. You won't work on your own. If you try to play a solo game, you'll get nowhere. You get frustrated, get demotivated, depressed, and you feel you're crap. And you have a false expectation on yourself. So surround yourself with people that will bring different skills, different ideas, and different tools. And that's really what is the key to entrepreneurship. So in summary, what both Marcia and I talked about today, we talk about mainly 3 lessons we learned through our own journey, but also working and coaching heaps of people in the entrepreneurship space, in the professional space, even in the employee. It's all about human behavior. And so, important, do the little exercise I suggested to determine your values. That is going to give you a lot of clarity and sometimes even shine the light on some of the frustration you might have because you have some kind of unrealistic expectation of what you should be doing. Clarify your purpose, whether you do it on your own, whether you get the help of someone. Find a way to get clear on your purpose. Because when you hit low, rock bottom, you need something to pull you up. And it needs to come from within. Learn to balance your perception, as Marcia said. Everything has two sides in life. So learn how to develop that mental muscle of being able to look at the two sides for anything, any situation that happens, no matter how good or how bad it looks like. Embrace support and challenge. Find the optimal balance between support and challenge, difficulty and skills. This is where you're going to be able to tap into your flow. Align your goal with your value and your purpose, otherwise you'll spend heaps of time, heaps of energy, heaps of money, getting nowhere, getting frustrated, beating yourself up, and feeling like you're a failure, just because you're looking in the wrong direction. Really, really important. And just be yourself. Don't try to be Elon Musk. There's only one. We only need one. There's an interesting thing is, if two persons are identical, one is not necessary. We only need one. We only need one of you, so just be you. And know that just being you is enough because you have something unique that no one else has. And if you tap into that, you find a way to extract value, market value out of that, ideas, skills, techniques, and partner with other people to help you leverage that. That's all you need. So just be yourself. So I hope these few little lessons will help you really. These are the highest priorities. If you just focus on ticking those boxes, you're going to be successful. It's going to work. Now, one thing we're doing, because we're passionate about working with entrepreneurs, and we've been working with entrepreneurs for many, many years. And one thing we decided to do is, what is the best way we can support the community? And the best way for us is to basically, we created a competition for someone to win our signature program, which is based on the model I share with you, core identity, emotional intelligence and resilience, and authentic strategy. That's the success blueprint is the global framework. This is the practical application. It's all the specific steps you need to go through to have a clear path forward, to know your values, to know what's your uniqueness, your competitive advantage, to learn how to dissolve whatever roadblocks you have, mental roadblocks, emotional roadblocks, beliefs, to get clarity on your vision and your purpose, and to align all this with a strategy that is authentic to you. With all the years of research, that's how we tried a lot of things, we experimented a lot of things. A lot of things worked, a lot of things didn't work, and we're still experimenting. But so far, that's the best process we've been able to put together, that we take people from there to there, and we see the difference in the result. And so we decided to create a giveaway competition. So it's free to enter. It's a competition for anyone that is stuck in their life, in their career or their business, or hitting the wall and lacking that clarity and confidence. And it's a 10-week one-on-one program, coaching, mentoring. That's valued at $5,000. And so the deadline was today, but we got heaps of people entering in the few last couple of days, and so we decided to extend it. And so we extended for another 2 weeks. So if you feel that this is something that can be a benefit to you, enter. Feel free to enter. It's open to anyone. If you feel that at the moment you might have the business strategies, you might know exactly what to do, however, it doesn't seem to get going, there's something in between. It's because of the mindset. This program is about mindset. The business strategies, all that, you have business coaches, you have mentor here in this place. We're focusing on the mindset, aligning mindset and behavior and actions. And so if you like to enter, it's simple. I love technology. Boom! You scan, right? And we also have little cards. You can type the URL, but it's freaking long. And so leverage technology whenever you can. Just do simple things. So we invite you to enter the competition. it's a program that works very well and really is to help people get unstuck. Because the worst thing you can do is when you're stuck is to stay on your own. You're not going to go anywhere. So that's our contact details if you want to have a chat with us. If you want to email us, if you're interested in the slides, feel free to email us. We'll send you the slides. We've recorded the screen and the thing here, the audio, so hopefully we'll be able to put a short video and can send you a link so you can rewatch that. And I appreciate that sometimes we speak a lot and you don't have time to write everything and you want to review, so we'll do that. But if you have any question, now is the moment to shoot, but not too hard. So we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
I'm going to make a deal with Bill's thing deciding that this Fisher is the chief operating officer for my startup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a deal with this. She's always watching after my well-being, so I'm going to actually make sure she looks after her business. Because she's looking after mine, but not hers apparently. So
And
I'll
yeah.
reverse that.
Teamwork. Watch each other. Because, as I say, when you love something, it's very easy to get carried away and ignore the signs. One thing we haven't talked about, but Marcia loves doing, to help people decode the signs and symptoms of your physiology and your mindset.
Because there are no mistakes, there are no random things in life. And so every sign and symptom from our body, and also even the negative emotions, we say, the negative emotions, the negative thoughts, they have a message for you. They are not there by chance. So it's not get rid of the negative emotions. They are giving you a feedback. Fear, for example, it could be a feedback that this is not really aligned, that's not really what you want, or you don't have a strategy for it. So anytime we have a negative thought or negative emotion, I actually love it. I have them every day. And then I go, okay, what is the message? What is this telling me? And there's only two things to change. It's either our perception or our action, or both. And so that's where I love to, and to help people, and even things from other people, what other people, when we have emotional charge with other people, is they're also being a feedback. Everything is feedback system. And when we get the message, it's teaching us what's in taking us to the next level.
Your body is an amazing tool to get you on purpose, to get you to achieve your purpose, work your purpose. And so it has a whole different sets of feedbacks to guide you there. If you listen early, you don't need to the next level of escalation. The metaphor would be, sometimes the sign and the symptom is you get a little flick with a little pebble. It hurts a little bit, and you pay attention.
The feather comes first.
Okay, feather comes first. Okay, you pay attention, you notice something needs to change. If you don't pay attention, you get a little pebble. Oh, it hurts a little bit more. Could be physical pains. And if you still don't pay attention, you get a stone. Oh, that hurts. If you still don't pay attention, you got a brick. And if you don't pay attention, you got a truck in your face. And so life gives you a gradual series of feedback mechanisms to get you to change, as Marcia said, change your mindset or change your action or both. But the more you develop self-awareness, the more you become attuned to these signs and symptoms, and you don't need the truck to tell you what to do.
And the feedback, the purpose of the feedback, it's always bringing us back to who we are and to our own authentic path. Because the universe, each one of us is unique, and we have something to contribute to each other. And so all this feedback is to get us back to step into our own authentic self, be ourselves, and share with others that uniqueness that we have, because each one of us, we have something to contribute to make the whole.
What would be the one take-home message you get from today?
Don't envy somebody else and don't be an imitator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just be yourself. Because trying to be someone else is futile. By definition, you cannot. And so you're setting yourself with an unrealistic expectation from the beginning. And so that's really important. And if you try to be someone else, life is going to give you feedbacks. And it's going to give you feedback very fast. And if you ignore them, the break is coming. And if you ignore, the truck is coming. So the key is really do whatever you can, no matter what means you use, to develop self-awareness. Self-awareness about your body, your physiology, your feelings, your sensations. Self-awareness about your thought process, your mindset, and your behavior.
Actually, can I just share a very quick example of the feedback? So one of our clients, tradesman, he's a carpenter, and he loves his purpose because of his life experience. When he was 19, he actually had a horrible car accident, and he was in coma for weeks, and he had to relearn to speak, read, and walk. And because of his journey, so he's been interested in healing, and he has like amazing healing hands, and he's been wanting to transition into the healing. However, being a carpenter pays the bills, right? And so he knew that, and he actually been working with us to transition, but he just wasn't willing to take that step, that leap of faith. And then in the last few months, he fell off the ladder in the working. He fell twice. He broke a rib, and then he broke an arm.
Then he blacked out.
He had a blackout. Once he broke a rib, the other time he broke an arm, couldn't walk for a while, that within weeks. And then last week, his car got stolen from his house. Actually, someone took his dad and his car, and in his car was all his tools for carpentry, meaning that for a moment, there was nothing that was linking him to being a carpentry. And so I had this, and he was quite aware. He knew that. So I had a session with him and helped him to see, what is the message. And the message was just get himself out there. Just he already doing massage. He already has his business. He's just not really
fully committed. And he had one more feedback. He went to a place to buy some tools with his mother's car, and someone just reversed into his car again. So he didn't have time to buy the tools. So if you look at life gives you, it's amazing the signs you get if you take the time to decode the signs. There is an order there. And so what I would suggest for you is develop your self-awareness of what's happening within you and around you, because there's a lot of signs to guide you forward. So nothing happens by chance. There's an order. Whether you believe that there is an order or not, there's evidence for it. If you put all the things, you can line up the dots, and there's a message there. And so be aware of that. Pay attention to things. Don't just go and do things because that's the way everybody does it, and I have to do it the same way. If you go and spend a lot of time, energy, and you're getting nowhere, there's a misalignment. Is it really what you're supposed to do? Is it really what you're meant to do? Or is that just the strategy is wrong for you? It's not in your flow. A very simple thing to show you the difference. And I'm going to use a generalization. Very often, people in the finance and accounting, they love numbers. They love spreadsheets. But they don't like people. They don't like people. They love the screen. They work behind the screen. They go the inside and all that.
Because they're introverts.
They're introverts.
That's why they're so good.
So if you want to kill an accountant's business, you tell him, you go out and meet people and network. It's going to kill his business. Why? Because you're going to force him to be someone he's not, to be extrovert. He's not going to be in his flow. It's not going to work out. It's going to sing the thing. Find someone that loves to do that and partner. And that's how you leverage skills and talents. So each of you has a natural way of doing things, a natural flow of doing things. When you do that, you know it, because you're energized, you're inspired, you're focused, and you get shit done. When you're out of your flow, you also know it, because you beat yourself up, shit doesn't work, it's all crap, it's all about the world, I'm doomed. They all do stupid things, and that's the feedback when you're out of your flow. So pay attention to both of those. Really important. Any question? We make life complicated, but it's not. Values, purpose, manage your emotion, make sure everything is aligned, and stay in your flow.
Simple.
If you stick to those things, you will see results.
Actually, it is pretty simple when you do it.
Yeah, it is simple, but we can complicate it and make fancy names and write textbook of psychology, but we don't need. Just straight to the point.
Bring that back to start, my stuff. I guess so we've had more happen in the last 3 months, more forward in the last 3 months. We've had previous 12.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess previous 12 was still necessary because it was all the research behind what we were doing that actually says, yes, this is how we can do this and work. Like in the last 3 months, I have gone through the start patch. We pitched, we had some success.
Mm-hmm.
And some achievement. I was going back through, and I've been doing the workshop series and stuff as well, and taking awareness from those, and just keeping myself, basically like what you said, like just being true to me.
Mm-hmm.
So my skills are quite good in a lot of different areas. I am a jack of all trades, master of none yet. But the thing that I had from the outset was I had a technical person who was good at code because I'm good at writing code, but I'm not as good as he is. Not even close to his level. I'm good at talking to people, and that's probably one of my biggest strengths. And in the back end was all the kind of business-related stuff, the back end office work, and all the kind of general day-to-day stuff that was getting left behind because I didn't have time, and B, didn't really have the interest.
Exactly. That's why you partner, right? You leverage the skills. In entrepreneur.
Who's actually passionate about doing that sort of thing, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to force yourself to be. At early stage as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of learn a bit of everything. For 2 reasons. First, because at the beginning you don't have the resource to contract people to do that. But if you don't know everything, how are you going to judge the best person to come on board? So you need to have a kind of a general background and having a bit of your fingers in everything. However, you quickly need to specialize into what is the thing that is going to be the most productive for your startup. If you're very good with people, it's meeting people, creating connection, building relationship, and then move that on to someone else to take care of it, to put the implementation in place, to do the project management. It's about that. Like, there's 2 things in life. There's strengths and weaknesses. You can spend your whole life plugging your weaknesses and feels good, but you're not going to go as far as if you spend your whole life developing your strengths.
And get someone and partner with someone whose strength is your weakness. So that is not dependency, that is a strategy, that's a specialization. Just like our body, we have trillions of cells. Each one, they are specialized in something. Because if we try to do everything, it's not as effective as a specialization. So business, one of our mentors, Dr. John DeMartini, he mentioned about business is like cell. So the cell, we have the trillions of cells, each one, they're specialized in something. So in business, and that's why we are a human and not a microbe, right? And so in business, it's the same thing, is that each one of us has a specialization. It's something that we're unique and we're really good at. And that's with our highest priorities. And when we focus on that, and we get the other people whose highest priorities are the other parts, that's when each one has the specialization, and that's when we take the business to where we want it to be. So it's about partnership, it's about collaboration, and it's about specialization and delegating what is low in your values, because our values is what's the highest and the lowest. And the lowest, we don't like doing it. And you know what? When we are trying to work on our low priorities, there's a law in life. We get a lot of distractions to get things happen to get us back to our highest priorities, because our highest priorities is our highest values, and that's where we are the most productive, most efficient, effective, and that's also when we have the biggest contribution to others.
So another way to look at your highest value, see your highest value as your greatest wealth potential. Wealth, including cash wealth, because that's what makes you unique. So if you find ways to harness that potential and transform it into some kind of market value, could be product, service, ID as an entrepreneur, that's where you have the greatest wealth capacity.
And wealth, all business has the purpose of money. Not necessarily money is not the end to it, is what's the meaning of money and what will you do with the money. However, a business, if there's no money, is an expensive hobby. So if you're not making a profit with your business, you have an expensive hobby. So the money is an important part. We all need to eat, right? We all need a roof over our head. However, we all also have this vision, because one of our human needs is contribution. We all want to have a difference in people's life. We all want to contribute.
I think somebody say something along those lines. So would you say it's important to remember that, like with business, obviously, the goal is to make money. So making money is a result, is what this person said. But the purpose has to be something more than that, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The purpose of going into business is making money, then you're
Yeah.
not really
No.
very much.
Yeah.
No. So would you agree that you have to have a higher purpose behind doing that?
Yes, and the purpose is bigger than ourselves. A cause greater than ourselves.
You know, in the definition I talk about, purpose is something that is really inspiring and meaningful to you, but that also has a great value to others. So if you only purely focus on money, money is mostly for you. And so you're just focusing on one part of the purpose, but you haven't gone beyond yourself. The reality is, if there is no exchange of value, there is no exchange of money. And so you have to see the value you have in yourself, and you have to see how the value you have is going to serve someone else, so they are willing to take your value and give you money in return. If they put more value on what you have to offer than their money, they're going to pay you. If they don't, they won't pay you. It's just like a measuring.
And there's something else in that equation, is that fear and self-doubt only comes when we're focusing on ourselves. So when you focus only on the money, that's when the fear and guilt and self-doubt comes in, because it's about us. But when we are focusing on the service and all the people we are serving and with people we are making a difference, contributing to their life, we are going beyond ourselves. And that's when you get your certainty. The fear, the doubt disappears. Have you ever been, even in your life, when you are feeling like really sad and really like beating yourself and like being a victim and shrinking and like really judging yourself, and then suddenly you make a change of mind and you actually you know what, I'm going to, or someone comes to you, your best friend comes to you with this big problem, and you suddenly come out of you and forget that, and you're helping that person. And then your physiology, everything changes. Because now you forget about your problem because you're now focusing on helping someone else. So it's the same thing in business, is that when we're focus on so the intention of money is there, however, we don't focus on it. We convert, okay, if we want that much money, how much service or product we need to sell, which is serving other people. So we know the money, we have the numbers, but we focus on the service. We focus on the contribution. We focus on the person we are serving. And that's which is the cause greater than ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes when I get into that point of having problems, I always think of somebody who has a bigger problem than I do. Because it tends to snap you at it.
If you want to look at your problem from a different way, go to Mars. And if you go to Mars, your problem on Earth, no one cares. Can't even see you. So perspective. Look from a place where you are not. Perspective allows you to transcend boundaries, mental boundaries, which are most of the boundaries we have, mental constructs. That's why perspective, whatever way you can find perspective, whether it's on yourself, whether it's reading a book, whether it's getting to questions, interacting with a friend, working with a coach, doesn't matter. Find ways to get perspective, because that's what gets you unstuck.
One of the beautiful things, the most amazing things, the astronauts, when they go into space, and then they look back on Earth, and they call the overview effect. Actually, there's some YouTube videos out, And the overview effect is exactly that, is that we see this beautiful blue planet, and we don't see the problem, right? So the overview is when you take yourself far enough, you see the bigger picture. So in the bigger picture, there's a perfection. Just like the yin and yang, the whole, there's a perfection, there's a hidden order. But when we are inside in the problem, we see chaos. But if we take it out far enough, we actually see the perfection. We can see the order. It doesn't mean there's no problem there. However, there's an order, there's a dynamic. And so when we can see the order, we see solutions.
Well, I think we'll
let
you go to your business.
Thank you so much for coming.